Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. At least it's evening where I am. But we hope that it is wherever you are, whether the sun is shining or not, that it is after dark in your mind and after dark in your heart, because this is the line after dark. My name is Paulogia, and I am here for the very first time hosting with the amazing, the famous, the talented Austin Archer. Austin, it's so good to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. We were talking beforehand about how we work in the same industry. I mean, outside of this, of course.
Right. Yes. No.
Yeah.
Well, at least. So we have a background in film. At least, So your background is in more general acting. Mine was more specifically in film and the related areas, but adjacent topics. And
Yeah.
I did want to. You know what? Do we have calls sitting here? Because I actually didn't. No, we don't. We don't have calls yet, so I need to first plug that the number is on. Number's on the screen, 720-619-2288, or use the web link in the description. We are looking for calls. I am a former Mennonite. Austin is a former Mormon. So that's like a sitcom in and of itself. Actually, I think the current Mennonite and the current Mormon would be a better sitcom, but we'll file that away in the ideal pile. But we are looking for calls tonight. Do you think that the Bible is true? Do you think it's reliable? Do you think that the Book of Mormon is true or unreliable? Do you believe in a God? If so, why? Let us know, because tonight could be the night that you turn it around for us. I've been waiting. I assume, Austin, if someone was to call in and to say, hey, they call and they convince you somehow that God is true, that God is real, I assume you would accept that and integrate that into your life.
Well, that's the whole point of doing the show, is that we remain open to whatever the best argument is. And, we've been doing the show for a long time. This channel has existed for a long time. But the reason why we're here is hoping beyond hope, in the face of all evidence to the contrary, that someone on one of these weeks is going to call in and say something that leaves us speechless, that leaves us gobsmacked, that leaves us with no choice but to accept the premise that they are putting forward. And maybe that's tonight. Maybe you're the one. I would also even throw out there, earlier this week on Threads, I saw a post from a guy who said, how come every time I invite liberals to debate with me on live streams, they don't respond? How come it's silence? And I commented in his comments, I put a link to this stream, and I said, I'll be here for 3 hours Sunday evening. I would love for you to call in. So I'm also open to that. If anybody wants to call me in and call in and tell me why it's a good thing that we just attacked Venezuela without congressional approval, and why I'm wrong about my political convictions. And usually those things go hand in hand. Most conservatives these days are also Christians, and a particular kind of Christian that I find particularly galling. But I'm ready for your best shot, and I'm hoping that person who was talking a big talk has the fortitude to and integrity to call in.
Well, I am joining you from Canada up north, and let me tell you, we are nervous as hell if all of a sudden leaders can just be abducted and yoinked away. We're kind of like, well, okay, we hadn't really planned a defense plan for that. Although, I mean, we're part of the Commonwealth, so our power structure is a little less centralized, perhaps, than other places. But we're nervous.
How much oil do you have up there that we might want to?
We have a lot, actually.
Ah, darn! Then you might be next on the list.
I know. Yeah, we have a lot in my former province of Alberta. But yes, so one thing I wanted check in with you, just because I have so few opportunities to discuss someone. You deconverted. Do
Mhm.
you what roughly what age and what point in your career were you when you deconverted?
I was 19 years old. This has actually been something that's been coming up a lot lately because of my family dynamic. I was the first member of my family, that includes extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, to step away. So it was a pretty kind of seismic thing psychologically for my friends and family to wrap their brains around because I was raised in Sandy, Utah. It's in the heart of Mormon Mecca. Everybody that I knew practically was active LDS, and I was preparing to go on my mission. At that time, young men went on their missions at the age of 19. Now they go at 18. And I think it's because of like guys, not me specifically, but what kept happening was young men would go away for their freshman year of college, and
Mm,
in that 1 year away from the hive mind, in that 1 year of exposure to life outside of
right.
the protective bubble, they were losing a lot of lifelong members, and they lost me in that 1 year. And so like shortly after I graduated high school, they changed the age to 18 so that they could go straight from your incubator, bubble of living with your parents and growing up in the faith to first year of technical adulthood. We're going to launch you off into the mission. And the mission, I've always believed that the LDS mission or any other kind of missionary work is more to convert the missionary than it is the people that
Mm.
they're going and knocking on their. It's about cementing the the allegiance of the missionary, you know.
So my question weirdly though is
Yeah.
for so you if I know this correctly, you started doing work in commercials and things like that at quite a young age, right?
Mhm.
Like you did that a bit as a kid. So you had some years at least on sets and in the industry as a Mormon.
Yeah. Yeah, I started acting when I was 10 years old, professionally. I mean, I started doing plays when I was like four,
Sure.
five, six, but I started acting professionally on TV and in commercials and TV shows and movies when I was 10. And in Utah, the LDS Church was doing a lot of production. Like they had a
Oh,
lot,
okay.
and they still do. I mean, BYU TV is like raking up children and family Emmys every year. They're like a well-respected player in the game. And also like when I was a teenager, there was this weird little renaissance going on in Utah with Mormon cinema. There were all of these movies being made by that were like making it into mainstream theaters, not just theaters in Utah, but like there was a series of films called the Work and the Glory films that were like a national and international
Sure.
release. And then there were these movies called God's Army that were made by this filmmaker named Richard Dutcher. And it sort of kicked off this like, ooh, if we can make films that are about faith that are appealing to mainstream audiences. And they were like a little bit better than what you see from Angel Studios and Pureflix these days, but more or less the
What?
same.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like a little bit more
Okay.
respectable. At
Mhm.
least that's how I remember it growing up. Because I remember
Sure.
like I would see these like hacky faith-based movies that Christians would make, and I would recognize them as like not very good.
Of
And then
course.
these Mormon films started coming out, and I was like, that's actually like not a terrible movie. And mainstream critics would be like, I mean, if you've got to watch a piece of LDS propaganda, like this is a pretty well made for as far as these things go. But so there was a lot of like I had the idea as a young actor that I could make a career in the entertainment industry without compromising my values. And I even wrote an essay to BYU when I was applying to go to school there that was about that. That was like, I would love to study acting and I wouldn't. I think I should be able to do it without compromising my values. And what I basically meant was like I should be able to go to a school where they're not going to make me say fuck in a play. And like and I was accepted to BYU, but then I wound up going to Weber State University where Damian Lillard played basketball, and that was a little bit more of like the University of Utah was like they scared me because they were saying the F word to me a lot in my
Hmm.
interview. And then Weber State University was sort of this middle ground where the guy that ran the musical theater department was LDS, but the woman that ran the acting and directing track wasn't. She was like this hard ass from Chicago. And I kind of got like the best of both worlds there. And I felt safe, but still kind of, I got to like leave. It was 45 minutes north of the town that I grew up in. So I got to leave the bubble of protection a little bit. I didn't know at the time that like Ogden is maybe the most secular town in all of Utah.
Okay.
And it took 6 months of my freshman year for me to uh, start questioning my faith and then ultimately lose my faith.
But so you, like me, thought to yourself, I'm going to go be a missionary to the industry.
Sure.
Was that what you were thinking?
Oh, sure. Yeah, my aspiration was like, I'm gonna like make these high quality films about faith and stories about faith, and films that don't feel like God's not dead, or like I still am to this day a fan of Don't Everybody Jump Down My Throat, like movies like Signs and stuff. I even think to a certain extent Ryan Johnson's
actually Signs is underrated. I
think so, and like Ryan Johnson's Wake Up Dead Man this year. Like every once in a while, I'll see a movie that's
but he's deconverted.
Totally, but I'll see a movie that's about faith where it doesn't feel like the movie is punching me in the face with like you're going to hell if you don't accept the prep. And that movie is not beating unbelievers over the head with it's just a movie that's acknowledging maybe nuance in why certain people prefer the structure of a church to and like acknowledging that like these aren't literal truths we're talking about. But I've always found it impressive when someone can make a movie about faith that I don't hate, or that doesn't like just brutally straw man atheists the entire runtime and have characters that don't really exist in reality. But I thought like you that I would go into the industry and make films like that, and now I actually write films about like suicide and stuff.
Weirdly, so I was in my 20s, Mennonite kid, got the call from George Lucas to like, we're making new Star Wars movies. Come on down. Get to work on Star Wars stuff. And I had people in my life, in my church life, were like, that George Lucas, he's not a Christian man. You are going down there, and I was like, no, I'm going down there and I'm going to convert everybody. They're all, I'm going to San Francisco. Like I'm this dumb, right? I'm going to San Francisco and I'm going to evangelize that place, which is just, but oddly, my faith survived that whole thing. I actually ended up moving back to Canada and doing work up here. And my faith survived San Francisco. It didn't survive very, very right-wing Canada's Texas of Alberta, where I started to learn that maybe dinosaurs weren't on the ark after all. It's sometimes. But on set, I got pulled aside a couple times where it's like, we need you to swear. Like, you cannot be here. Everyone's noticing you don't curse. And we need you to actually.
They needed you to curse just at work, like not like on. That's strange to me, because I work with guys all the time who are like conservative, and I don't give a shit if someone swears or not. What I care about is like if someone's going to be like, if it's going to be an issue that me and other people on set are swearing, that's sort of a thing where I'm like, well, this is an adult work environment. Sometimes we have children on set, and I think everybody understands how to behave appropriately around other people's kids and stuff like that, and just making sure that the parents feel like their kids are being taken care of, and but like, if it's just a set populated by adults, like film people are vulgar, crass, weird perverts sometimes. And, I don't know. I think that like, if someone's going to be bent out of shape about what I will say too is film sets are very ideologically diverse, way more than most people think. The idea coming out from conservative America is that Hollywood is this like woke, leftist, shoving all their woke agendas down everybody's throats. And I'm like, if you've actually spent any time on a film set, then you know how many people who work on the technical aspect of things are actually pretty right leaning. Like, there's a lot of people, in like the grip department and lighting.
Yeah, your typical gaffer is not necessarily woke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've worked on a lot of film sets where like I actually felt outnumbered as a person from the left, and felt like I had to watch myself and just keep it professional and keep it about work those days.
That is, yeah, that's fascinating. I of course got my eyes open to all kinds of, you know, the opposite is also true. There are people who are, living a lifestyle that if you're, a young Mormon or young Mennonite, you're kind of like, whoa, okay, there's a lot of getting introduced to a lot of new ideas here happening.
What I'm surprised about is I'm a sober guy now in the industry, and I mean, like, I'll go out and work on these jobs where we're working, our call time is 6 a.m. and we're working till 6 or 7 p.m. every day. And then, like, at the hotel after work, there are guys that are staying up till 2 and 3 a.m., like getting blasted every night. And I'm just like, guys, how are we doing this? How are you waking up at 6 a.m., at 5 a.m. to make it for 6 a.m. call? I just don't, there's some guys with like iron stomachs, it seems, in the industry who are just used to kind of drinking their way through a really grueling 3-week schedule. But I'm not one of them anymore, at least.
Indeed. Well, we're still waiting for real calls. We've had, yeah, we're waiting for some good calls, some real calls. Hopefully, theists. If you are a theist and you have been reluctant to call the show before because you may have to wait too long, tonight is the night because right now the line is short. By the time we start talking, I'm sure the line will be long. So 720-619-2288. Give us a call. Uh, Austin, what is the religious themed video that you've most recently put out, and how was it received?
Oh, geez. My last religious themed video was I made a video about Pascal's wager because there was like a Christian on
For or
TikTok.
against?
Heavily for.
Okay.
No, it was this Christian person who was like, she was posing Pascal's wager as though it was her original thought that she had just come up with, and she seemed to be completely unaware that like this is a very, very
Mhm.
old thought experiment that
I mean,
theists
that's
have.
not impossible. People can come to ideas that
Oh,
they
I
didn't.
I'm certain
Yeah.
that she did come to it of her
Mm.
own process. But
Yeah.
it was probably something that someone said in church, and
Sure.
she thought, "Oh, that's it," and she just didn't know that there
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like a name for it and that it's a very old. But she posed it like, "Haven't you ever thought about this? Like, what you stand to lose by not accepting our this premise?" And then she's like, "And what do I stand to lose? Nothing." And so my response was basically trying to, and it was one of my nicer videos, I will say too, where I was trying my best not to be condescending or patronizing, and I just explained like, well, there's actually quite a lot that you stand to lose if your fundamental premises are incorrect, then and I'm correct. That means you get one shot at consciousness, and if you're lucky, you get like 80 to 100 years of a conscious experience, and you could waste your 80 to 100 years swearing allegiance to something that is A, fundamentally a lie, and B, something that makes you a worse person, something that makes you, treat people who are different from you worse than you otherwise would have. And, you're doing things like engaging in slavery apologetics and treating your queer friends with a lot of hostility unnecessarily. And you're turning yourself into this sort of ignorant, hateful bigot in the name of an ideology that isn't even true, and you're sort of wasting your one shot at actually connecting with people and connecting with the human experience. And then but after that, this theist responded to me and
Ooh.
made this whole video about how my positions require more faith than his because I believe that something came from nothing and that nothing created the universe, and all these assertions, old assertions that we're very used to as atheists, that no atheist actually says nothing created the universe, that we are, perfect with accepting the evidence that points to the universe being billions of years old, and that the beginning of entropy as we know it starts with this event known as the Big Bang, but we don't really claim to know what happened before that or what caused that. It could be a series of ever expanding and contracting, big bangs over and over again, and we're just living in the space in between it. We don't really know, and that's fine. But just because we don't know doesn't mean we can just plug in God to any, answer we don't have. And that was my last video about faith, was just sort of and I was less diplomatic and less nice to that
I
guy
see.
because he was significantly more pompous in his, than the
Oh,
original person.
so this wasn't the original poster
No.
responding. This was a third party decided to throw their hat in the ring.
Yes, this was a third
Gotcha.
part. Yeah. Uh-huh.
But still
Um,
a response to a response. Very fun.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
What about you? What was your last
oh, well, my
video on
last.
religion?
So I chose to end the year with a bit of a layup. So I've been doing these multi-hour, very heavily researched videos. Mainly, I'm in a big feud with Gary Habermas. I don't know if you know who that is.
No.
Gary Habermas is a scholar. He is in his 80s. He has published. He's in the midst of publishing a 4,000 page, 4 volume set on why Jesus rose. He's considered like the most foremost resurrection scholar in the world, and he and I are feuding, which is weird. But so I've been doing all this back and forth with Gary. But I was tired, and it was Christmas, and I was like, I'm doing a layup. So my last one that I did was like this million view thing. It was just like 3 reasons why God exists, and I'm sure you can guess what they were. Like
Sure.
it's and anyway, it just makes me laugh because I did what I thought was the
What
simple one, and I forget though that
was one of
I do these.
them was one
Go
of
ahead.
them was one of them just look around. How could all of this be here
Look at the
without it?
trees.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's the typical design argument, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So it's argument. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at the trees is design argument.
Yeah.
There was that. There was um which was intertwined with argument from complexity. There was, of course, Kalam, like the cosmological argument, and then there was, the moral argument, which was like, how can you even know whether it's okay to kill somebody if God didn't tell you? So, yeah,
We
that
we
level.
we have to get morality from the guy who built a torture chamber that he puts people in forever for not worshiping him adequately. That's the
Hmm.
only place we can possibly get morality from, is is from this torturing psychopath. It's the only possible place.
All right. Well, anyway, I guess the point to that was that
Yeah,
I forget though sometimes that and Jen, that dovetails with what you were saying. I sometimes forget that every video is someone's first video, right? Everyone who's deconverting comes along their very first video that like that the person you were talking about hadn't heard of the Pascal's wager.
right.
She was probably very sincere.
Mhm.
And so I always have to remember that we hosts, we can get jaded in our videos because we've been doing this for a long time. But some of these calls tonight, probably people's first calls, all those things. We got to keep that in mind. So it's worth doing. Anyway, I
Yes,
have to remind myself it's worth doing. And speaking of which, we actually have a theist on the line. Are you ready, Austin?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. Kevin is here from
Yes,
Croatia. And Kevin,
yes.
you are on the line with Paul and Austin. What's on your mind tonight?
Hello?
Hi,
Hi,
Can you hear
Kevin.
Kevin.
me?
We can.
Okay. I'm interested in if are you aware of the Medjugorje thing, Medjugorje apparitions of Virgin Mary, and
Uh,
how significant it is?
like at Zaytun, for example.
Like, did you hear that there will be 2 warnings that will be sent to mankind? And that there will be an indestructible sign that will appear in Medjugorje for the unbelievers. Did
Okay,
you
so
Did
just
you ever hear about that?
not in those specific words. Also, I just need to be. Are you talking about? You're talking about like Marian apparitions, right? Like the mother of Jesus. Are we on the same page? That's who you're
Yes,
talking about? Okay, very good.
yes.
Um, so I have not heard about this indestructible sign, two indestructible signs. Austin, is that something you're familiar with?
I don't know.
I'm not,
There will
but
be
it sounds like Kevin's going to correct us here.
All right.
No. Virgin Mary gave 10 secrets to seers, children seers in Medjugorje. And the first two secrets are global warnings that will be given to mankind. And then the third secret is great indestructible sign that will be placed for unbelievers, for those who have some kind of excuse to be unbelievers. Because obviously God thinks that there are people who are unbelievers and who have an excuse. But
yeah, you're talking to two of them right now.
Sign will be given.
Okay.
What
is the sign? Kevin, we are ready to see it. I'm ready.
Yes, it will be placed in Medjugorje and it will be indestructible. So I was just wondering, did you ever...
It will be, you're saying, what is it we're asking? What is the sign?
Well, I don't know. It will when it appears, then it will be visible what it is. So
I see.
I was just wondering.
So
can I say something?
Go ahead. Please finish your sentence.
I was wondering, did you ever even hear about that?
I have not. So I have been studying the Bible and the New Testament for many more decades than most people in the audience have been alive. And this is the first time hearing of it. So tell me, if this call gets disconnected, Kevin, where can I go to read about these or watch a video? Where did Mary reveal these signs, or how did it get recorded? Where do I learn about this stuff?
Well, you really have a bunch of sources everywhere if you want to get interesting to it. I want to know how.
I want to know how you know. How do you know that Mary gave 10 signs to, I think you said, children?
Yes.
So how did
know?
you find out about them? And how do you know that it actually happened?
Well, that is actually a very good question for your show, because it shows how this thing is bizarre. I mean, in Croatia or in this part of Europe, you cannot not know about it. It's impossible to not know about it. But I'm calling your show, and I actually, by hearing what you say, I understand that you actually never heard about it.
No,
that's like one of the biggest,
okay.
like one of the most surprising things.
Kevin,
yes.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. This sounds like a prank phone call. You don't sound like you're being serious. We're asking you very straightforward questions, and Paul's being very, very patient with you. I'm going to lose my patience pretty quickly. Paul's being very kind. He's asking you, how do you know? Not just, oh, where I'm from, it's impossible not to know. We're asking you to tell us how you know. You've already asked us if we are aware. We've already answered your question and told you, no, we are not. We're asking you, how are you aware and what are the signs? You already answered that question. You said, I don't know what they are, which is weird that you say, I don't know what they are, but also I'm from a place where you can't not know. But how do you know? Not just where I'm from, you can't not know. Who told you? Where did you see it? Could you be more specific for us so that we can trust that this is a genuine phone call?
If you truly doubt my words, you can honestly search it on Wikipedia and find the basic information. You have the information everywhere. But
I'm not asking Wikipedia. I'm asking you. I'm asking you. You called in the show and you said you have proof of the existence of God. I'm not asking Wikipedia. I'm asking Kevin from Croatia with male pronouns. How do you know that about these irrefutable, indestructible signs that are going to show up in Medjugorje? How do you know this?
Well, I'm very convinced, since I'm a practicing Catholic, and I personally have my spiritual, supernatural insights in my life. I have
All right, Kevin.
when I was
Kevin,
saying
do you understand why I think that this is a prank phone call right now?
no,
Okay. Well,
it's not a prank call.
I have nothing more to say. Paul, do you think you have any way into this guy?
Kevin, let me just extend you. Let's pretend this is real. Let's pretend, and I'll give you one more chance to I'm a source method guy. I like to check the footnote, and then I go to that book, and I check the footnote of that book, and I check the footnotes. So if I was to go all the way back, you said it's on Wikipedia. I don't know why you would call someone up and tell them that you know something cool and then say, go read about it on Wikipedia. It seems like you would want to know about it. What is the originator? What is the original source for this claim of Mary having signs?
These apparitions are still lasting. They have started in 1981.
No,
And,
that's not
from-
that's a separate question. Whether they original things appear all the time. People see things. I've seen things. That you made the claim though that these were fulfillments of prophecy made by Mary, Jesus's mother. And so it's if you want to tell me that something is prophetic, I have several criteria. The first of which is that someone before the event happened actually made a prediction about it, and that's what I'm trying to get to. And you don't seem like you, or maybe did you ever care? Is this something that didn't bother you?
Okay, now I understand more. What are you pointing at? So these events that will happen, they will be announced, I think, 8 days before or 10 days before by the seers. They have to
Okay,
be told
Kevin.
to everyone. 8 days.
Kevin,
8
you're
days
telling
before.
me
Yes.
you're telling me that sometime in the future, someone's going to give us information, and then 8 days later, that's going to come to pass. So this is all future stuff.
Yes.
Okay, that you understand
And-
how that helps us not, right?
It helps you very much
How?
because you have a standard to see if the proof is worthy.
Well, no, but
And then
I don't even. It's not whether the proof it. You're telling me that there will be a prophecy. Like, so prophecy of a prophecy is pretty meaningless. A prophet doesn't need preamble. A prophet doesn't need decades of like, oh, there's gonna be a prediction. It's the prediction is coming up. Like that's not a needed thing. So how about Kevin? Tell you what. When the first prophecy is actually made, we have a show virtually every night on this channel. When the first prophecy is actually made, call us and we can start the 8-day countdown clock. How about that?
Okay, do you want to know more about it before you hang me up?
I don't really know, because prophecy, someone telling me that in the future someone will make a prediction is not really helpful to me until it actually happens. Until then, there's nothing I can do other than like when someone says, hey, there's going to be a new Hunger Games movie, and it's like, well, have they started production yet? No, it's not anything. It's just a thing that you can look forward to that may happen one day. And okay, all right, well, I don't have. It doesn't help me.
Except it's even crazier than that. It's like if someone was like, hey, I have it on good authority that aliens are going to show up some point in the next 200 years. And it's like, cool, like who said that? And it's like, no, they're going to say it. Someone's going to announce the date soon. And it's like, all right, well, you got nothing for me to latch into here.
Yeah,
you got nothing for me to let.
I have no action. Even if I fully believed you, Kevin, even if I fully believed that someday someone's going to prophesy something, there's nothing I can do with that tomorrow, other than have something else to look forward to.
So the last 7 secrets will be punishments for mankind after these 3 warnings that are given. And these 10 secrets are written on an indestructible paper. that you cannot destroy and you cannot steal. It's
okay,
like,
now we're getting
it's like
somewhere,
the
Kevin.
ring from
Are they written on this? Does this paper exist right now, or will it be written on this paper in the future?
It exists right now.
Right now, there is
it's
right
like
now
that,
somewhere on the world there is indestructible paper
yes,
with curses on it. Why didn't you start
yes,
with that?
It's at home of seer Mirjana Dragicevic. That's her name.
Okay, so
She's,
which scientists have attempted to destroy it?
I don't know, but that is the smallest thing. It's like
So,
that ring from the Lord.
Wait, Kevin, how do you know that it's indestructible? How did you come to the conclusion that it's you just said someone said this is indestructible paper? Just like someone said, "Hey, this paper is indestructible," and you just said, "Okay, Paul, sounds reasonable."
Okay, do you want to listen to my personal testimony? Why do I believe it's true? And then I can mention one other.
Did you see the paper? Is your personal testimony about the paper?
No. This Medjugorje is so big in Europe that we don't really worry about the paper. You have apparitions every month. You have millions of people coming to the place of.
But I am an ignorant North American fool who sits here saying, "Well, I would like empirical evidence," and you've made a falsifiable claim. You've said that this paper is indestructible. That's a claim that I could actually test. And so I got excited. So no, I would like to focus on the empirical claim that me, lunk-headed Western literalist, I'm all excited about this non-destructible paper, and I don't care about how it makes me feel.
Hey Kevin, Kevin, are you watching the show right now? Are you watching?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
I'll hold this up for you. So, this is a piece of paper I have. It's indestructible, and it's actually so indestructible that it can cut through your indestructible paper. I've tested it. The difference between this paper and your paper is I can actually show you this. Like, look, I try to break it, can't do it. It's made out of adamantium +1. So whatever your paper is made out of, this is even more indestructible. And it says you suck. It says Kevin sucks on it. And I don't know, right now of the two of us, mine is more believable because I've got it. It's right there. You don't even have yours. You've never even seen it. You can't even test it. But I'm telling you right here, can't break it. It's ironclad. Kevin sucks. And I don't know what to do with that, bud. I'm just telling you what's on the indestructible paper that's even more indestructible than your indestructible paper. You know what I'm talking about, dog? You know what I'm getting at, big dog?
Okay. You're joking. I appreciate that. But
yeah. We're all joking. We're all having a good chat with Kevin. We're all having a fun time with Kevin and his magic indestructible paper. Why don't you not call in and waste our fucking time, Kevin? Why don't you go take your magic indestructible paper and shove it up your ass? And I'm going to keep my magical indestructible paper right here. That's my thoughts on this call.
So Kevin, I'm going to get you're done?
Can I talk more?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Kevin. When to be
I
clear,
just felt like we were talking
this was not an ad hominem attack. These were two separate claims.
Yeah.
The paper's indestructible and Kevin sucks. Those were separate. We weren't connecting those issues. Those were separate. Those were separate issues.
Yeah. Yeah. No, listen, I was just pointing out that, like, if you're going to tell me you've got magic paper and then you say, A, you've never seen it, and B, it's never been tested. I'm just saying I got one up on you right here. At least mine you can look at. I got one of the three, So, and he's got 0 of the 3 outside of the claim. So,
all right. Well,
I commend you for trying to give Kevin the benefit of the doubt.
I always would prefer to lean that way. So anyway, we we have we have the Sunday After Dark, which is what's happening right now. But if you tune in to this very network, this very YouTube channel, we have shows virtually every day. We have coming up. We have coming up tomorrow. Arn Raw and Arn Raw with a host to be determined.
Secret
tomorrow.
guest. I don't actually know who it is.
Yeah, well,
Is the
I think
secret-
I think I do, but I don't want to enjoy.
Is the secret guest the magical indestructible paper? Because Kevin kept talking about secrets. So
maybe the Virgin Mary will show up tomorrow. That would be. I think Aaron would have a great time with that. On Chewed Gum on Tuesday that is Taylor and Sarah. On Wednesday on the Hang Up we have Justin joining Matt Dillahunty, the Deconstruction Zone Justin. Which you tune into that one. That's sure to be fire. We have TACIS on Thursday with Josie and Alexander, our esteemed producer. And looks like on Friday or Saturday, I'm sorry, Justin and allegedly Ian will be doing a Cus I Wanna. Next Sunday, we have Matt and Owen hosting during the day, and Forrest and myself again after dark, because apparently I am the furthest, other than Promise, I think I am furthest into the future, and Jimmy just keeps putting me on the late show. So, my sleep's already messed up. Doesn't matter. All good.
You want to hear something fun I'm doing after the stream tonight? Speaking
Absolutely.
of Forrest Valkai is gracing my side of the country. He's currently about an hour south of me in Anaheim, but he's coming up here. We're going to an escape room after I get off the stream. So I get to go to, and it's a religious based escape room. It's an escape room about the 7 deadly sins that we're going to. So
that sounds amazing.
We're going to have a good time.
What's in the box?
Yeah.
All right. If you were old, you laughed at that joke.
I know. I like it. It's one of my favorite all-time favorite movies.
All right. Well, let's go to, what do you think, the atheist or the agnostic?
I think the agnostic, because I'm just curious about that question.
It's closer to theist, so sure, let's go. We have Stephanie from Texas. Welcome, Stephanie. You are on the line with Paul and Austin. What can we do for you tonight? Or what do you want to talk about this lovely evening?
Oh, hi, guys. I actually hesitated to call back because we spoke last week, Paul, and I felt like mine was the most boring call of the night, but you brought it up kind of what I had been thinking about. So when I had called previously, we talked about the usefulness of religion, like if religion is useful, if it's okay to approach it that way. But and I think you had established that you think that is less valid, but
though I think Austin and I may
true.
Austin and I may disagree on this, so we'll see. But carry on.
Well, that's why I wanted to call back, because I heard y'all talking about it, and I guess your question has kind of been in my mind all week, that is it the way you want to spend your one and only life? And I mean, it also occurs to me that you spend a lot of your life studying the Bible still, even though you maybe don't believe it, but is that a valid way to spend one's life if one chooses? Do you consider religion to be a valid path, or do you think it's just never an okay way to go? One should be dissuaded at all costs.
Right. So I will answer only for me, because that's the only way I can. And again, because I'm the only one that gets to choose what to go in the life. I view what is left of my life, aside from what I give to my children and my family, that the rest of my life, I view myself as cautionary tale. It is too late for me to have made different choices that I could have made. And so I feel like, for me, that I have great empathy for people who are in the same position I was, but for whom I could help them escape sooner, because that's what I wish for my own life. I wish that someone sooner had told me that I should examine things, that I shouldn't take things on authority, that these were not good epistemological tools, and even what the word epistemology was, frankly. So for me, I've chosen that living my one and only life primarily as a cautionary tale to help others does give me purpose. I also enjoy learning. I enjoy a lot of the stuff, and naturally it fits in with the stuff that I studied all that time. But so for me, it is. There have been other YouTubers, for example, who have started YouTube channels when they're deconverting or shortly after deconverting, and that lasts for them like a season, as we used to say in evangelical Christianity. It lasts a season where they would want to talk about it, but then they would move on. They would be like, well, this isn't their biggest thing in their life anymore. And I'd begrudge none of them that. I don't think any deconvert owes the world the rest of their life to talk about, their former religion or why beliefs are like I'm much happier if they move on and say, well, you know what? Now my enthusiasm is for hiking or for serving people or getting into politics or all those various things. Like, I actually think mine is the worst choice, but I do feel like it's a necessary choice. So it's right for me, but I actually don't advocate it for most others. If that may sound inconsistent, but I guess that's where I'm at.
I would say for me, I think that there are so many valid reasons that people decide to embrace a faith structure in their lives, whether it's just that they're looking for some kind of structure at all, some kind of direction, someone to give them a program to be on that says, hey, be here at this place at this time every Sunday. We're going to give you a job. We're going to give you an assignment of serving your community, connecting with your neighbors, feeling like you don't have to go through the ups and downs of life and existence on your own, feeling like you have a shared group with whom you can have a shared worldview and a shared reality, and you can have resources to help you. There's so many things that I think make sense. To me, in my honest evaluation of organized religion as it exists in the modern world, and really as it exists, has existed throughout history, is I think it does far more harm in the long run than it does good. Ultimately, I think that it's really so it's kind of tough, because my answer to your question is, if there is a person who, for them, it is useful to their life, to their mental health, to their to just their ability to get through this thing, to embrace some story from some faith practice, and if they are able to do that without it harming their other relationships, if they're able to do that without harming their friends, their family, without harming queer people, without harming women, without embracing some form of weird racism that is justified by their faith practice, if they're able to do all of that and maintain a humanistic output where they just, where they're just a lovely person, a pleasant person to be around, I kind of feel like it's then go ahead. It's just that more often than not, if you dig deep enough, that stuff starts to rear its ugly head. And for a lot of these people, they think of themselves as I got no problem with people that, disagreeing with me or believing differently than me. But when push comes to shove, at the end of the day, they'll pull out some hate the sin, not the sinner thing that is just a roundabout way of saying, yes, I do actually think that people who are committing what my religion views as sins are going to be punished for those sins in some kind of afterlife, or that, that's being kept track of by some kind of judge, architect. And I just think ultimately the structure has outlived whatever usefulness it may have once had on a macro level. Now, all that being said, I'm really, I'm Vince Gilligan's got me thinking about groupthink lately with his show Pluribus, and thinking about is the ultimate goal of our species as we evolve and as we grow, is the goal for us to eventually congeal into a hive mind that all agrees on everything and that is all pulling in one direction? And is that the ultimate place we want to go? Or do we want to continue to honor ideological plurality and pluralism and individuality? And I think in my purest, most honest sense, I'm like, I want people to be able to believe whatever they want to believe. I just want them to do it without causing great harm to themselves or others. And in so many cases, it seems like those two things are in conflict. And that's why I'm involved in this work, is just like, boy, if like people, I get accused a lot of not having tolerance for disagreements. People on the right will often say, "Oh, liberals and leftists can't handle it when someone has a different opinion than them or when someone disagrees with them." And I'm like, I actually, again, I talked about this at the beginning of the episode. I deconverted when I was 19 years old, and I spent 20 years in a community of people who were very ideologically different from me. And I spent 20 years going to family parties with them and hanging out with my friends who I grew up with, who all had massive ideological differences from me. I'm okay with kind of a live and let live approach. It's just when those differences cause, when it hurts people, when it either hurts me or when it hurts, their community, when I see them doing harm to their family members because of those beliefs, that's when I feel the need to sort of intervene in some way. And that's where I think the usefulness of this work comes into play. But yeah, to me, it's a complex, nuanced answer that's not just like, no, there can be no tolerance for any kind of belief structure that is different from what I think. I want there. Yeah.
You and I need to fight about this.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
But actually, what the fight would be, and Stephanie I went over this at length last week with her, but no. So your definition of harm and my definition of harm includes poor epistemology and the kind of decision. If you accept the kind of decision making criteria in your religious life, that will definitely bleed over into other sections. You will start making poor choices because you are holding on to that epistemology that lets you hold the religious view. And so for me, you cannot hold such flagrantly false beliefs without actually causing harm just by making other decisions.
Push back
you can.
On that slightly, though?
Please do.
Because I have thought about it since we spoke, and I hear what you're saying, but like, is there room for people? So in my life, in my family, I know people that are just so steeped in this kind of thought that, like, just, I don't know, it would break their brain. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is their reality, the religious reality that they grew up in, that they've constructed their reality upon. Were they to leave it, it would, like I've come to the point where I'm really careful about who I talk to about the Bible because I feel like once you start going there, it's real easy to, if you're really looking with open eyes, you can really start to see, okay, some of these things are not adding up. But I know that there are some people that it would decrease their quality of life if they no longer had a religion, if they, perhaps they rely on the community. And I feel like you mentioned last week your privilege. I think there are people, in other countries and other religions, but even here in the United States, that for them to break away from their religion would cause them deep psychological harm. Like, is that not also valid? Like, is that not also a type of harm?
Well, I would not, just really quick, I would not necessarily disagree with you, Stephanie, and I think that it is in the immediate sense, and I think there's a lot of people in our community that understand how difficult deconstruction can be psychologically. It was one of the hardest things I ever did. I felt very alone, and I felt very misunderstood, and I felt like I was surrounded by people who were profoundly incurious about what I was going through. No one seemed to want to ask questions about, like, why I felt the way that I felt and why I was doing the things that I was doing. And for a while, it was very lonely and kind of depressing and difficult. But as I sort of stuck to my guns, and also as I found community with like-minded people, I found more and more, time to me was a great healer, and that not only did I find community with other like-minded people, and I was able to replace the community of the church with different communities that I found even more uplifting and more affirming. But also the people from my past community with time surprised me with, in their own time and in their own way, they would gradually become more and more curious about the experience I was having, because what they were witnessing was that, like, I was still me, and I didn't fundamentally change just because I left the faith structure. And then as I got to watch them change and them start to deconstruct and start to get more curious about things, that was a very fulfilling experience. So I would say, in the immediate sense, you might have a point that some people are going to experience difficulty in the immediate aftermath after a deconstruction. But I would say long term, there are benefits to embracing a life that is more based in what is observable and demonstrably true than can ever be found in something that is fundamentally a lie. At least that's my take.
And I would say, obviously, there are degrees of harm, and the degree of harm. For example, my grandparents are no longer with me, but I made a deal with some of my family, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway, but that I was never going to talk about this stuff with my grandparents, because, again, who were they interacting with? Really only their own retirement community at that point. Like, it's, the amount of harm that they could do versus the amount of, I get it. Like, you have to weigh it, and I'm a bit of a hypocrite in that sense. But what I take umbrage with typically is not that one must weigh whether what I said was harm. That not all harm is equal, right? So I take umbrage when I hear things like, well, a religious person is doing no harm. I think they are doing harm. And you and I talked about this, if I remember, last week, where I was saying, well, for people who pragmatically stay in religions, but actually don't think that it's true, but pragmatically enjoy the social club or whatever, I think that person is doing less harm, because they are actually probably not, their epistemology is fine, so they're probably not using that poor epistemology elsewhere in their life. But they are also propping up structures that do harm, right? We know that pretty much all religion at an high organizational level are doing harm, or at least most would agree.
Like all religions, like Sikhs and Jains, and like all religions.
Oh, I think yes. I don't, the ones that are organized, right? So I was talking about the organizational structure above them, like the one. So I don't know too many Jains that are in a big, in a Jain mega church. I don't know that there are Jain mega churches.
That's true.
But when again, we talked about, if people are giving money to the church, or even just by being a butt in a pew, you are giving that pastor power, because he gets to go to his council, he gets to go to his governor, he gets to go. I represent, X thousands of people, butts in the seats, right? You're contributing to be one of those numbers. So anyway, these are all harms. I think unfortunately, we don't have perfect information to evaluate which harms will or will not lead to certain things. I just want to put the bug in people's ear that there are potential harms, both to oneself, to one's life, and to one's community, for participating in religions, even if they don't believe in it.
But, okay, I hear you. I feel like most of what you're saying, though, is aimed really at evangelical Christians. I mean, there's a growing number of progressive Christians that are trying to pursue, like, the social gospel. Like, are they also doing harm? Is it also harmful to participate, like, in a progressive church that is more, I would say, less into the miraculous and more into, like, the social teachings of Jesus?
It depends. I have seen progressive churches that have agendas that seem okay, but they also are holding on to things that are demonstrably not true, right? They're still holding on to various things and pitching them as if they're true. So as soon as you're doing that, you're making also, not all progressive Christianity is also not very homogenous, right? Like it can mean lots of different things. So I don't want to make a blanket statement.
Well,
Yeah,
and also,
that's true.
and also, I mean, this is something that comes up a lot on this show. Just the good aspects of Christianity, for instance, and the good aspects of the Bible. And what if there's an organization that only teaches the good aspects and we leave all the other stuff behind? Anything that feels bigoted or feels cruel to people or outdated or, misogynistic, racist, whatever, we'll leave all that out and we'll just go with the more humanistic, the charitable stuff. How, love your neighbor and judge not lest ye be judged, and all of this stuff. And the rejoinder to that commonly is just sort of, well, you don't need the truth claims of all of the supernatural truth claims. You don't need any of that to teach that stuff. You can have community
Well,
with
maybe
people
you don't
who
need it.
I don't think anybody does.
Like,
I don't think anybody should.
Well, do they? I feel like that. I mean, pardon, I don't mean to sound rude, but that feels a bit arrogant because it would. You're assuming, like, I think religion has been around for thousands of years for a reason. Like, whenever there have been humans, there has been religion. Okay.
Yeah, the reason is
on that, but it
right,
would appear
no,
that that's the case.
Yeah,
Because
and the
it's
reason
grounding,
is,
because it gives people stability.
well, I
And
would,
you're saying,
yes,
like, it's not just for the truth
yeah.
claims. Like, maybe some people need that stability. Do you hear what I'm saying? And so, like, if there's a
how
way to
arrogant-
practice to gain that stability, I don't know.
Right. What I'm
Sorry,
saying,
continue.
so I don't disagree with you that religion is very old, but people often do this. They go, well, it's been around for so long. It's been around for so long, and it's been around as long as civilization's been around. So there's got to be something to that. The thing to that is that human beings desire understanding in a way that is quite rare and uncommon amongst animals. Human beings are, I think that storytelling is one of our like prime characteristics as a species that sets us apart, where we have this desire to understand why the sky makes lightning, why the sky gets angry and turns into a tornado, what a tsunami is, what an earthquake is. We have this understanding to understand why people are dying from sickness and things like that. And in lieu of actual scientific understandings of the physical world around us and how it operates, we told stories about it. And that's why religion is also regional, right? Like, if it was this unifying force that, like, look throughout history, all humans are telling the same story, but they're not. It obeys, like this story shouldn't obey geographical lines. It shouldn't be like, well, people from this region and this culture tell this version of the story, and people from this region and this culture tell this version of the story. They should all be telling the exact same story, but they tell a story that is influenced by the region of the world that they live in, the climate of where they live, the geopolitical struggles of their specific cultural history, and their story is going to be tweaked based on their location. It's not evidence that there's something fundamentally true about religion. It's just evidence that human beings fundamentally are curious storytellers who crave explanations for the unexplainable. And as science has progressed and we've gotten more and more explanations for a lot of these things, those stories have outgrown their usefulness. So when you ask, don't people need the story in order to incentivize them to do these good things? I would say I don't actually think so. And time again in my life, I like when my father deconstructed, for instance. My father deconstructed when he was 63 years old. He spent 63 years as a devout, believing, tithe-paying member of the Mormon Church. And when he deconstructed, I was terrified because I thought I had done great harm to my dad. I really thought, like, oh no, I ruined my dad's life. Like, I took away the one thing in my dad's life that helped him make sense of the world. And he's just been, not only has he been fine, he's thrived in his deconstruction phase over the last 10 years. And I think that his relationship with his kids and his grandkids is stronger. I think his relationship with the world around him is like stronger. I think he's a better person because of it, but maybe that's just anecdotal experience and I can't really extrapolate that out to a global scale. But Paul was about to ask a question and I want to allow Paul.
Yeah. Well, Steph, I'm sorry, I shouldn't shorten your name without asking for, did you have anything, was there anything you wanted to respond to Austin before I become angry Canadian?
Well, I did just, I have one response is that you were saying, we would think that all the religion, it would be the same story would be told this way in this place and this way and somewhere else, but it would all be the same story. That would only happen if I were asserting that the story is true. I'm not asserting that the story is true. I'm asserting that there is something useful in religion for humans. I would even, and you're saying stories, right?
Totally
like
fair.
Storytelling.
Yeah. Fair, and we can throw out. I think we can throw out the truth claim part. I think that's totally fair, and I would still say that something in the usefulness of the story. It is this. The usefulness is we were answering questions that we didn't have the answers to. We were trying to create a framework for understanding a profoundly confusing existence, and as that existence gets more and more understandable on a physical level, and a physiological and a quantum level, those stories become less and less valuable, in my opinion.
Okay, but that only addresses one aspect of religion, and that's if you're saying that religion is explaining something, or, like trying to find out what's true. It does do that for us, but it also provides us with a community. It also grounds us. There's something very powerful about many people coming together to tell the same story. And I think that's part of the problem that's happening in this country right now is that there's a really powerful story that's being told, even though it's the wrong story, but it doesn't require, it's not weighed down by facts. It just has, you know what I'm saying? It's a powerful narrative, and people coalesce around that in a way that they have a harder time coalescing around, this is my truth claim, if that makes any sense.
Mm.
So you earlier you either said the sentence or seemed like you were going to say the sentence that isn't it arrogant for us to sit here and say, well, people don't actually need this, and you said, well, no, they do need it. Isn't that arrogant of you to say? And my question back to you is it not more arrogant to say that people need a placebo, they need to be lied to, they need this stuff, they can't handle the truth, Paul, so don't strip away their lie because they can't handle seeing what's actually true? That to me sounds more arrogant than us pleading, saying you don't actually need to hold on to this false stuff. Am I wrong? No, I'm putting that out there because that you might evaluate that very differently. But am I wrong about that, or why am I wrong?
It depends. If you were saying, so if I'm saying it's arrogant for you to say that people don't need it, it would be arrogant for me to say, yes, all people need it. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying some people might need it. And I don't know, and not necessarily for other reasons. I feel like when we're talking, especially, I've just watched more of your content, Paul, so I'm just more familiar. But a real driving force in your videos is it true? Just convince me that it's true, and I'll come back to Christianity. I just want to know that it's true. And I get for some people that might be more important. I know there are some people though and I also think that that's a Western kind of idea. I'm married into a family that is not American, and there's I don't know how to explain it. It's hard to. It's a culture where they kind of lie to each other all the time, but they all know they're lying, so it's kind of okay. It's different. The way that we view truth,
but that's
is
right.
Different.
But that's exactly what we talked about before.
Phenomenon.
When everyone knows it's a lie, we went over this. I think it's fine when everyone knows it's a lie. Cool. I used to organize Star Wars fan rallies, right? Those were huge community events with tens of thousands of people. One time, 150,000 people I was at it. They all were there because they liked Star Wars. That was a community. People made lifelong friends. People met partners. It was these were events where joy was being celebrated, but everyone there knew that story was fictional. That was every bit as a real community as any church service, and I've been to thousands of them that I ever was, because you do not need this I agree. We need unified stories because that's part of our language of how our shorthand about how we deal with group identity and tribe identity, all that kind of stuff. But when some people are telling other people that it's true when it's not, and or people are trying to justify to themselves that it is true when it is not, that is where I think the harm comes. If you want to set up a church and everyone says the Bible is crap, but we think the Jesus character, who is just a character, had some cool things to say, just like other fictional characters might have cool things to say, I would have no complaint.
I mean, I think that's like Universalist Unitarians, kind of, right? Like that's kind of their vibe.
Sure.
But
I'd still,
yeah.
I would still say even I would still be like
for someone. I'm sorry.
I would just still say like the funny thing about that is because in theory I agree with Paul that it's like, yeah, if you just want to go, hey, this book isn't real and it's full of a lot of bad stuff, but this character had some good things to say and we're going to build our community around those. I'd still be like, why are you zeroing in on that character? Like, why are you still making that character uniquely special? If we're agreeing that he's a fictional character, why are we still giving credence to the idea that there's something uniquely special about this literary character when there are so many characters we could base it around who are great people? We could build a church around Gandalf. We could build, but we don't do that. And why give this fictional character of Christ in the Bible this special platform, this special place? And I still, I feel like I do want to push back on this idea that some people need it, because I do think that initially, yes, I think that there are a lot of people who a belief in something bigger than themselves pulls them back from the brink of destruction. And this is a story that if you spend enough time in these communities, you'll hear it over and over again. That people were like ready to end it all when the missionaries knocked on their door, or they were, ready to end it all when they stumbled into a church and had a conversation with a priest that changed their life. Initially, yes, it can be a catalyst for bringing people back and giving some people something bigger than themselves to believe in. But ultimately, what I think people are learning to believe in, if they're being honest, is themselves. They're learning to believe in their own ability. And once you can get them to a place where they can trust that, like, you don't need the lie anymore. You can set the lie down and you can still be a good person without it. I think that's way more, to me, I think it's infinitely more empowering than saying you are incapable of keeping up this pace without the lie, without the placebo, without you are incapable of maintaining this kind of community and participating in the world in this kind of a way. I think that we do people a disservice when we say the only way you can possibly lead a meaningful, good existence is to cling to something that is fundamentally untrue. And I just don't think they need to do that. And I think that the hope of the work that we do is that people can start to build more and more communities with other people that are about the same things from a humanistic sense, but just leave the folklore and the mythology behind. And even if you want to tell some stories from time to time, make sure it's clear you're just telling a story. You're making an analogy. You're using allegory, yeah.
So, Stephanie, have your thoughts changed in the last few minutes here, or are Austin and I way off base?
This is something that I'm actively working through, right, in my own mind.
Yeah.
So I'm open, right, to having my mind change. It's why, I listen, I watch the show, I watch y'all's channels. I guess, can I ask one more quick question?
You absolutely may.
What do you think? I mean, you interact regularly with people like Dale Allison and CJ Cornwave, and who are Christians. I mean,
Yep.
or identify as Christian. Do you think that's I mean, I don't know. I guess when you put a person to it, do you think they shouldn't be?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's a long list. Phil Vischer, creator of VeggieTales, I've talked to. There's Christians in my life, right? I know, weirdly, I know famous Christians, and I have a whole community of Christians, some of whom stuck with me when I deconverted, some didn't. Like, it is a thing that I think they're wrong about, but they also think that I'm wrong. So, like CJ, for example, yeah, I mean, if I press him, he's gonna, without the cameras on, um, you know, he's gonna point to different things. There's Dan McClellan, right, who debunks Bible stuff better than almost anybody. But he's a practicing Mormon. So I mean, we're all big contradictions. But I'm as consistent with my opinion on this with these people with whom I can break bread and even have sometimes we have common enemies and can share ideas. So being dogmatic about this stuff I don't think is the right way to go. I don't think you change minds by canceling people or being dogmatic or closing doors because we disagree on one thing or another. And I've lost track of the question, but you mentioned you gave a list of people whom I love, but with whom we have heated disagreements. Even me and Bart Ehrman, we have very strong disagreements about the nature of Jesus's mother. Like, it's just we I don't know. All that can be true at all at once.
Yeah, and I would say I very much agree with what Paul's saying here too. That, like, again, this characterization that I get often about, I get it from family members, I get it from people, and from conservatives all the time, that it's just like, oh, you just hate anyone who disagrees with you. You just can't handle that people, and it's like, that's not true at all. My life is heavily populated with people with whom I disagree. I'm totally okay with not fully understanding. There are a lot of people who I know who understand the logic of a lot of the things that I feel about the Bible and organized religion, who still, for some reason or another, are believing or practicing members of these faith structures. I remember I went to a premiere of a documentary about the implementation of the word homosexual in the Bible in 1946. And it was this documentary that a bunch of gay Christians made. And at this premiere, there were all of these gay Christians. And they had a Q&A afterward, and I just asked a question. I just was like, could you guys I was like, I loved the documentary. I felt like it was really great to see, just to explain to people all of the different processes of revision that this text has gone through over so many years, and how this very fundamental thing that so many modern evangelicals and modern American Christians cling to was a very recent addition. All of that's great. And I just was like, could you guys just help me explain your attachment to Christianity and how are you still in it? And 3 different queer Christians responded to me, and at the end of their answers, I was no closer to understanding it. It just kind of sounded like they were like, well, we just try to believe that, like, the God that we believe in wouldn't actually hate us for that. And I was like, fair enough. I think that's great, but like the history of the organization disagrees with you, and like, I guess you're welcome to create your own version of that character in your head that you find more suitable. That's fine. I guess I'm still confused as to, like, why you need the character at all. Why not just leave the character behind? Why rewrite the character to suit how you would like the character to behave? But I don't understand it, but I can still be in community with those people to a certain extent, and I can still respect those people. And I have those people that are in my family. I have family members that are still active in religions. I have, I participate in recovery programs with people who have different conceptions spiritually than me, and I'm totally fine to agree to disagree. The only time that I'll ever be a hardliner on stuff is like the stuff that people go, oh, you just can't handle disagreements. It's like, well, what specifically are we talking about? Are we having a disagreement on whether or not it's okay for masked people in unmarked cars with machine guns to choke slam people to the pavement in front of their kids and rip families apart and disappear people to work camps in El Salvador? Are we disagreeing on that? Yeah, then we're gonna have a problem. Like, I don't want to be in community with you then. Like, you're a brown shirt Nazi and like I don't want anything to do with you. What are we having? Like, it's always like, what's the specific of the disagreement? But some of these people, it's just like, I don't fully understand their insistence on like Dan McClellan. I don't fully understand the insistence on clinging to the story and needing that version of community. But as my line in the sand is like, are you actively causing harm? And if you are, then
and I think that is the point of agreement, that all the people that I listed, who you said, like, they're Christians who work with me or whatever, my line is exactly that. Do we at least agree that morality has something to do with harm? When someone says, no, morality is 100% just what God tells me to do, that's when it's kind of like, okay, it's hard to find common ground. At least if you have people that are agreeing morality has something to do with harm, then you can talk about it. You can set the stories aside and look at facts about what's harming people and what's not. So ultimately, I thought about that earlier in the call. Like, that is sort of, I can break bread with people who are trying to avoid harm, even if they get there for weird means. So,
me too.
Yeah, I'll let you guys go. I just have one quick kind of follow up to that. The thing that maybe does give me pause about jumping ship altogether is what you just said, that there are gay Christians who have every reason to leave, but they don't. And so I'm like, okay, or like Dan McClellan, who has every reason to leave, but doesn't. So these are people who have experienced things that I have not, obviously, but there's still something that they find compelling. And that's where I come back to, you were saying, like to me, I would not tell those people, oh, you're wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't find, grounding or peace or purpose in this religion. Like, if anything, I feel like those are the people that have earned the right to claim a religion, the ones that have kind of, stuck through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think either one of us would ever tell these people that they have not found grounding or peace or purpose through religion. Oh no, I don't believe you. What I would say is, I just don't think you have sufficiently provided evidence for the more supernatural or extravagant truth claims of your faith structure. And I don't personally understand why you are so intent on clinging to those. I feel like you are smart enough and capable enough to find just as much grounding and meaning and purpose without those strange truth claims. And again, I'm totally fine with just agreeing to disagree with those people, because fundamentally I think they're good people who are invested in work that I don't find to be actively harmful. But it is just something where I'm like, the place I would disagree with Dan McClellan is, I'd be like, I don't understand why a person as smart as you needs to maintain some kind of unprovable belief in an extravagant supernatural deity, if indeed he does believe in that.
But he wants to. Is that not okay? Like, I guess that's what I'm trying. Like, maybe he doesn't need to, but he wants to.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. I say, to me, it's like, that's fine. What I'm saying is, I don't understand it. I just go, okay, I don't understand why. I don't understand why he wants to. And that's my answer, is like, that's fine. I don't know why. I don't know why you want to. I don't know why you feel like you need to. I think you're capable of having all of the fulfillment and all of the grounding and purpose that you're finding without clinging to that.
I also think it's very scary to leave your communities. I was outed and was sort of kicked out, so I didn't get the chance to decide whether or not I was going to leave. But I do feel like the fear of that something else on the other side might not be as fulfilling is one of the things that keeps, I'm not saying you, Stephanie, but does keep people in. And I feel like if you talk to people who have left, I've never met anyone who left who was like, I couldn't find that now this is all a shambles. It can be more of a challenge to find community. It can be more challenge to find some of those meanings, but I've never found anyone who didn't, after not too long a period of time, find those things in non-religious things, because religion is not the exclusive vendor of any of the things we've discussed today. So with that, Stephanie, I think that I'm looking forward to calling you. Call me next week, because I'm on again next week. And I don't know why this pen got in my head. But I'm on with Forrest next week. So if you want to chat with another week's full of thoughts, I would look forward to it.
Thank you so much for taking my call, gentlemen. Have a great day.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks, Stephanie. Oh, that was pleasant.
He is a genuine seeker, which is all I have all the time in the world for genuine seekers.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I love when you're talking to someone and you can tell that they're actually considering your answers and then asking follow-up questions that have to do with the conversation
right?
instead of just moving on to their next.
Right. That I had his bullet points. Yeah. Well, we're going to roll with this theme because we have a theist caller who has, it looks like, potentially a very similar topic, and we'll just roll right into it. Hi, Jeremy. Jeremy from North Carolina is a theist. Welcome to the line. You're on with Paul and Austin.
Hey, good evening, guys. How are you?
We're all right.
We're kicking it, Jeremy. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Can't complain.
Right on.
So,
what do you want to talk about?
Yeah. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. As I was listening to the conversation with Stephanie, I just found myself kind of right in the middle. I found myself agreeing with you guys, but I found myself kind of agreeing with Stephanie on some things. So, did I hear that one of you guys' father deconstructed from Mormonism? Was that correct?
That was me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that he did that. I mean, Mormonism is a cult. It's false. It's false.
Yeah.
The things
what if
false.
What if I said that Christianity?
That's where.
What if I said whatever religion you are, Jeremy, is a cult?
I would ask you why you thought that, right? I mean, that would be the right response.
Because I think it's false, and for me, the most important thing is whether it's true, which I think was your question. Is that your question? Is the properties of religion that we should care about?
Yeah, no. Yeah, the question I raised was, Paul, I found myself agreeing with you, buddy. Stephanie's wanting to convince us that, religion has practical, benefits. It can help us cope in a terrible world. Well, Paul, as a Christian philosopher, I just don't buy that. I think I would be in agreement with you and Austin here. I'm more concerned with whether it's true or not.
So
and
we
if
are
it happens to be practical. Yes, we are in agreement on that. And that was kind of where I was in agreement with you guys, because y'all were pushing back against Stephanie and this sort of progressive. Seems to me she's some sort of she's a progressive Christian. She's trying to hold out hope.
I don't like
even though Christianity.
Why put a label on?
Yeah.
I don't think it's not up to us to label other people. At least when I was a Christian, I used to very, very quickly, I could decide who was really a Christian, who wasn't. That was a very spiritual gift I had of discernment that I could tell. But now that I'm an atheist,
I don't need a spiritual
now
gift
that I'm an atheist,
I don't.
Yeah, if anyone says they are, they are. That's what they are.
Right.
So, Jeremy,
are
we in full agreement?
Consistent with what they could say things that are consistent with what progressive Christians would hold. And since I know many and talk to them, I can spot them pretty easily. Now, I could get somebody wrong, but yeah.
Well,
she sounded like a person that's wanting to salvage the utility of religion, even if it's false.
Right.
And I think that's a cop-out. I think that's a cop-out.
But Jeremy, this is a show about disagreeing. We don't love calls where, someone calls in and we're all just nodding our head in agreement. So if everyone on this call agrees that the truth matters more than the utility, and it sounds like we do.
Right.
And you told our call screener that you are a theist, which means to me, that means you believe in some sort of God. Is that correct?
He told us he's a Christian philosopher, so I would imagine.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now that we've agreed whether the true is better than utility, please tell us
It's not. I'm not
why
saying that
you
it's
think
better than. I'm not saying it's better than. That would be a mistake. I'm not
More-
making that claim. I'm saying to me as a philosopher,
yeah.
when somebody talks to me about religion, I want to know first and foremost, is it true? Did Jesus really live? Jesus might help you get through life if you believe he's there for you and he's helping you and guiding you and choosing which shirt to wear and what job to pick. But if that person doesn't really exist, that seems to me that it would imply the person is living a deluded life.
Yeah.
They're
so
living a
I think,
delusion.
again, for the sake
Right.
of,
Yeah.
for the sake of the show and for not being boring, we all agree on that. So let's get to the point. Let's get
Right.
to some stuff where I
Okay.
think we disagree. It sounds
Okay.
like you think that Jesus is currently alive and helping people find their contact lenses or something. I don't know. So
No, I
you
didn't
think
say
that-
that. I didn't say that.
do-
I was
do
using
you
that
think-
as sort of what? Yeah, I
do
did. That's
you
not
think
my
that
view.
do you think that Jesus is currently alive?
Why are we asking me about do I think Jesus is alive? Why
Because
are
Because
we
this is-
asking me that?
Because you said you were a Christian philosopher, and I didn't tell you what you believed. I'm asking if this is something you believe.
Well, I was wanting to finish the comment I made about Stephanie's remark first.
But we're not here
Remember,
to
I
critique
began-
callers,
Yeah, we're not
And
here
we-
to litigate.
and we're also not
No, I'm
here
not
to
wanting
all
to
just
critique-
handhold
I'm not-
and
No, I
and
don't
we're
wanna
not here to
critique her. I
handhold
wanna
and
agree with
agree.
her on something. I
Do
want
you
to agree
have-
with her on something though.
All right, what's that?
I want to say that I want to say that I agreed with something that she said. Can I do that? I hope she's
Go ahead.
listening.
Go ahead.
She asked a good question. She said, "Is it not valid for people to live a religious life if that serves them in some way? Is that not a valid way to live?" Now, she's asking you all as atheists, and I find the question very poignant. Is it not valid if
We
each person
literally
defines what
spent
is valid?
30 we
that was-
literally spent 35 minutes talking to her about the answer to that question.
We just went through that. I think that
And
what
you
we're
do.
more right, and what we're
Right.
what we're more interested in, Jeremy, is you called in asking about is the only thing that's important with religion, whether it's true or not. And it seems like you do believe in some extravagant supernatural truth claims of Christianity. So what we would like to talk about with
That's
you
not
is,
my view, sir. That's not my view. That's not
Okay,
my
could-
view. You're going to have to. That's not my view, though.
Jeremy, are you a theist? Do you believe in the
I
existence of
am.
God?
I do.
That's an extravagant supernatural truth claim then. What we're curious about is why do you believe
How
that?
are you defining? What do you mean by extravagant? What was that supposed to
It's like me saying I believe in the Easter Bunny or leprechauns. There's no evidence for it
Okay, but
whatsoever
why-
in the physical world. It's a supernatural creature from folklore and mythology. There is no evidence to support the existence of it, yet you claim to believe in the literal existence of an anthropomorphic divine deity, and we're asking you why.
Well, you just said a mouthful, sir.
I sure did.
And I don't think you understand that you made the claim. You said
No,
that this
no, I
being
asked.
doesn't exist.
Yeah, you said that you do believe it exists. I asked you if he exists, and you said you do.
I do. I do believe God exists. That's correct.
Right, so
When
you
I
are
asked
making
you
the
what
claim.
you meant by extravagant.
And
Then I asked you what you meant by
why?
extravagant.
Why do you believe
And then
that
you
this God
said-
exists?
Wait a minute,
Jeremy.
I'm going back. I need y'all to slow down, and I need you to answer the question. You said that when you use the word extravagant, you mean to say it's like the Easter Bunny.
Mhm.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
Okay,
how
I'm a
about the word?
Christian
How about the word
philosopher.
extraordinary instead of
Christian
extravagant?
philosopher.
Or how
I'm a
about we
Christian-
use no
I'm a-
adjectives at all, Jeremy, because we are not here to tell you what you believe. Let's pretend we use
Right.
no adjectives whatsoever. Because
Okay.
you're getting weirdly caught up on adjectives we used, so we're not going to use them anymore. You're going to tell us about the God you
wait
believe
a minute,
in.
Wait a minute, Paul. Wait a minute, Paul. Calm down. It's important to represent people fairly and accurately, though, correct?
Which is
And
why
adjectives
we're
are a big part
asking
of that.
you
Adjectives are a
to
big part
tell
of that, though.
us. You tell us what you believe so that we are not mischaracterizing you in any way.
I wanted to talk about what Stephanie said that I agree.
That's all. No,
You're wanting
we
to
are
turn
not.
this
We
into-
are. We
you're
are
wanting to
we-
turn this into a
we
debate
don't
about
care
the existence of
anymore.
God, and I'm not.
We do, Jeremy.
Well, I do care about Stephanie because I think she had a valid point.
Okay.
We already talked about that, though.
We already talked about it for way more than half an hour.
We already talked about it.
So why? Okay. Why are you trying to change people's minds then? Why are you trying to change people's minds?
Jeremy.
That's what you're doing.
We want you to change our minds.
Yeah, Jeremy. The point of the show is for you to call in and change our minds. Exactly. And if you're going to call in and say, yes, I believe God exists, the point of the show is for you to convince us to see things your way. That's the point of the show.
That's not how this works. But that's
yes,
not
it
how
is.
This works,
Jeremy,
though.
Jeremy, it's our show. We know how it works. It's our show.
Okay.
You don't get to call in and go, no, that's not how your show works. It's our show, Jeremy.
Well, I'm only going by what y'all have said, right? You said you're interested in changing people's minds. Well, how is that consistent?
No, we're not. No, we're not.
We never said that.
No, Jeremy, we never said we're interested in changing people's minds. We said, would you explain to us why you believe the things you believe?
False things, then. Do you want to change my mind? You don't want to change my mind if you think I got a false belief.
I want you to convince me that I'm wrong. I'm here to get saved. I'm going to hell, Jeremy.
No, Paul. No, you're not there to be. You're not here to be.
A lot of people think I'm going to hell. If you go to my comment section, a lot of people are very convinced that I'm going to hell.
Oh, well, I hate that. I think that's terrible.
Or I'm missing out on the God who could be, enriching my life, the one that is enriching your life.
I wouldn't even say that, Paul. I don't think you're missing out because I don't think the God that Christians talk about.
So, Jeremy, I don't even believe you anymore.
Interested in knowing.
I actually don't believe anymore that you're a theist. I am the last person on this show to call out fake callers, but it doesn't seem like you are actually believe in a God because you're unwilling to discuss them. And so thank you for your insights and for yes-anding our previous caller. But with that, I'll wish you a good night.
I've got 5 reasons for the existence of God.
Oh, hit us with it, Jeremy. By the way, Jeremy, oh, great. Well, I threw the sunglasses on, which means that I'm about to get mean. But I'm glad you hung up because then I didn't need to yell. But it's like, what the hell are we doing here? Why was Jeremy so afraid to defend his belief in God to us? Or even define his belief. Or even define it. Define what he means when he says that. And then telling us that's not how this works. What do you mean that's not how this works? What are you talking about? Going into someone's business, going into a Taco Bell to buy a burrito, and then being like, hey, I'd like to talk to you about this conversation I had with my friend earlier today, and it's like, sir, are you going to order a burrito or a taco? And then being like, that's not how this works. And it's like, yes, that is. It's Taco Bell, motherfucker. Order a taco or a burrito. What are you talking about? I'm not here to talk to you about some random shit. But
sir, this is a Wendy's. Yeah.
Sir, this is a Wendy's. Either order the biggie bag or leave.
Yeah, that's funny. But theists, with the departure of Jeremy, that means that we have only atheists on the line right now. So if you are a theist and you would like to chat with us, ideally about why you believe in God and why, or why you think that politically that we socialists are ruining the world. I'm a dirty Canadian, and so I'm obviously a socialist. Anyway, call in the number 720-619-2288. But in the meantime, we do have atheists to talk to.
This person has been waiting so dutifully on the line for the last hour and 40 minutes.
That's the fate of atheists on this show. You sometimes gotta sit and wait. But Chris, welcome to the show. You are on the line with Paul and Austin. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you guys for having me. Paul, I'm a huge fan. Basically, my question was, how do you deal with? I posted this question to Matt and Promise last Sunday, and I missed your show that late Sunday night, so I wanted to post it to you. It basically is the same question. How do you deal with family members that are, still theists and wholeheartedly theists, and such as my mom, and while I myself going through the deconstruction last year, 12 2024, end of 2024, I found myself, unemployed. So I was dealing to a lot of emotions, and naturally I turned to the Bible to, I guess, make myself feel better and just find hope. And in doing so, I just started asking more questions and doing a lot of research. And I found myself, understanding a lot of things and questioning other things. But I found a job that took me to a part of Florida that was very evangelical, mostly white evangelical conservatives, and that put me in a position. I'm from Florida, though, so we have a lot of mixed, cultural backgrounds and people from different countries.
For sure.
So that put me in a very interesting situation where I got to ask questions about what they believe, and I realized that, and some of my coworkers invited me to their church, and I did attend some of the churches, and I realized that I guess my deconstruction began with not only my own reading, but just attending those churches, because I realized these people don't really care about other people. They just care about their own circles, and that's not the Christianity I grew up in. I am myself and my family are immigrants to this country, to the U.S. And I have a poor background. And I grew up praying for the poor and for God to provide us with, clean food, clean water, and such. But I found myself now in this church where people just don't really care about what other people believe or do or helping one another, but just basically just believing in God and all things will be fine. And I found it oddly concerning that they quote Paul more than Jesus himself. One big reason I believe in the Bible when I was I love the Sermon on the Mount. I still do. I think I love the Sermon on the Mount. That if Jesus did say those words, I think. But basically, my deconstruction began because I went to this church, and looking at current events also, the Bible tells us that the Jewish people are the chosen people of God to lead us to God and to lead this world. And I just found it oddly concerning that, hey, the Bible says this, but these people are committing genocide and killing thousands of people for no reason.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So Chris, can I ask you before we can advise you, though, I do want to I think I know the answer based on this, but it's just an important question that I need to know up front. Are you currently financially dependent on your family? Because that kind of steers all the potential advice that I make. Okay, so you're financially separate, you're financially independent. Perfect. Because as you can imagine, if someone who's still reliant on their parents or a family for a living, I might want to give them different advice, right, about how to deal with the family. So that's an excellent clarification. Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say I'm gonna step out. I'm gonna step out really quick. But Paul, you answer first, and then I have something I'd like to say. But I'll be right back. 2 seconds.
Okay.
So Chris, did you want just some general thoughts about dealing with family members, or did you want to ask about specific dynamic?
I'll give you a few more context, and then I'll leave it, so you can answer the question. Basically, I'm going through my construction, and then I found you and Matt and all these wonderful channels. By the way, you were my top viewer channel in my 2025 recap. So,
wow, I'm honored and I'm sorry.
No, and I wanted to also say thanks for your what you do, because you said that to Stephanie, I believe, that you wanna, if your purpose now that I guess you feel like it's late to do something else, but your purpose now is to communicate and help others find, early in their life the truth. And I'm one of those, so thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so with the whole conservative Christianity and the MAGA movement, and I just found this very repulsive. And I realized this year that, 2025, that I don't need a 2,000-year-old book to tell me how to be a morally good, decent person, to love my neighbor. I major in mathematics at the university, and one thing in game theory that is that, doing what's best for the individual is literally doing what's best for the group. So, I believe in those kinds of things. So, given all that, I found myself clashing with my mother late this year when I, came out as, I just flat out told her I don't believe in any of this anymore because, it's repulsive to me, and I don't need 2,000-year-old book to tell me that I need to, love you or take care of you. My mother, for some context,
True.
again, my father passed 3 years ago. My father didn't save that much money, so my mother came to live with me in my household. So I take care of her and the bills. She doesn't work. She's disabled. She's in her 60s. So I do, and that's fine. I don't mind. I'm her child, and I love her, and I do it because I love her. I don't do it because she took care of me. I just do it out of love. So a lot of the conflicts we're having is that she, uses the Bible to to curse at me or she uses the scripture to tell me I'm evil or I'm using I'm blasphemous and such. And I'm not a very I don't know the scripture as well. I just know the main idea, the main points, and a couple of details. So I wanted to get your thoughts on how to deal with family members that do believe in this. I don't know if you saw last Sunday's show with Matt Promise. They gave some great pointers.
No,
I wanted to give you the opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, part of it will be at some point you deciding when enough is enough, right? Or what, like that it's actually negatively affecting you to the extent where you can't have this, or the relationship is no longer worth it. Everyone has to decide for themselves as adults, which relationships do I want to choose to continue and which ones do I not? It doesn't matter the nature of the relationship, but boundaries are always very important in relationships. And so I don't know if you've done this. I don't know if this is in the dynamic you may do, but the first step, if you wish for your mother to not do that with you anymore, is to actually communicate that to her, that this is a boundary that you would ask her to respect, right? Like just like you are probably not flaunting in her in her face that God is not real, and or sins that she would hate, or that kind of thing. You're probably not throwing that in her face. She may not do that. So I mean, setting those boundaries is the first step, and then seeing whether or not she honors those boundaries is the second step, because if she's not willing to honor those boundaries, then and depend, every person is going to be different. But you may have to get to a point where if you value the relationship more than you value being correct, that you actually just need to say that, you know what, Mom, if we're going to have a relationship and I love you and I want to talk to you for the rest of my life, religion is just a thing we don't talk about. So that is largely where my family is. I've settled that with big chunks of my family, is that, you know what, we all agree that we value this relationship enough that that we're just not going to talk about God related things. They will mention church and things like that, and I let that slide, but we just agree to disagree. If any of them were to persist in doing that, I would have to say, you know what, this was no longer the terms under which we're operating. The other thing that's helped is I actually will often share, I've gotten theologically far enough that it's like they would agree with me that it is the Holy Spirit who makes us, from the kind of Christian that I was perspective, it is the Holy Spirit that draws you in. It is the Holy Spirit that makes you see that the things are true. In Mormonism, it's almost like the burning of the bosom, to feel that it's true. So often what I say is, rather than having a conversation with me, since you can pull up studies, statistically, a family member is the least likely person to change your mind on any important topic. Politics doesn't matter. any deeply held belief, just statistically, it's least likely to be a family member that changes your mind. So I just encourage them, you know what? I understand that in your worldview, you're concerned about me. You're worried that I'm going to go to hell. What you need to do is pray for me. Don't tell me you're praying for me, and the Holy Spirit will do the work. So, those are a couple of things. I assume that though other people have talked to you about this boundary setting before. Have you tried setting these boundaries?
Can I
And Austin, go ahead. Yeah.
I just wanted to jump in here really quick, Chris, too, and just say, first of all, I'm sorry that you're going through that. This definitely is a situation we hear a lot about on the show, and deconstruction is difficult, especially with family dynamics. But I think this call is a really important response to the chat we had earlier with Stephanie, because one thing that Stephanie kept saying is, I know a lot of people who would be much worse off if they were to leave their faith structure and their faith community, that their lives would be measurably worse. And one thing that I don't think we actually got to get into is a big part of what makes it difficult for people to step away from a faith structure, from a religion, is the fact that often that community that they have become reliant on, not just, it doesn't have to just be financial dependence or reliance, but reliant on for just support, for the feeling of safety, the feeling of identity, of belonging. That community will turn its back on them so fast and just become completely cold to them if they no longer have that ideological homogeneity. It shows you how conditional that community support is, and that community love, and that can be a really difficult thing to grapple with. And I do think that what Paul's saying here is, it's offering an opportunity when you say to your family members, hey, you know what, maybe we just don't talk about this stuff because it's hurting our relationship. It shows, because sometimes for people it becomes a boundary where they no longer have contact with their family members. But also, like in my case, and I've seen this with other people, it sort of shows your believing family members that there's more to our connection here than our agreement on this dogma, or this doctrine from this faith structure. And it shows that our connection and our love for each other goes deeper than our agreement on these truth claims. And I think that ultimately shows your family members that, like, oh, there's something deeper here about our connection than this thing. And that's the hope, at least. But sometimes they can't see that. And that's why I just expressed my condolences. But I just wanted to quickly say that. Sorry, Paul, I lost your question.
That's sorry.
Yeah.
What I asked was, Chris hadn't let us know one way or the other if he's attempted in any way to set any boundaries. And I was wondering if perhaps he had, and how that went.
No, me and my mother, we're quite very passionate, and we understand and love each other. We don't apologize, but apologize by cooking each other's breakfast the next morning and such, and without saying the word sorry. I think I may have said I came out as an atheist, but it was fairly recent, maybe in the last 4 months. But the problem that I'm having with her is that I don't, I care about her well-being, and I don't want this to be such a contentious point. But what bothers me the most is, she tells me all these things and sends me TikToks or IG posts about Jesus and I have not, to answer your question, I have not set the boundaries yet, because I want to give her the freedom to express herself. But you're right. I think I probably should be doing that. And your answer is very similar to Matt's answer last Sunday, to, let her know that if God wants to have a relationship with me, then she should pray for me to let the Holy Spirit, reveal themselves to me. That was my question. Is I'm very interested that you had the same answer as Matt's. Promise also suggested that I should set some boundaries.
Okay.
But no,
a lot of us. Yeah, it's a similar themes. A lot of us. I mean, my family did. Let me rephrase. My church family largely did cut me off. So I've been through all of it, and I had to build the relationships back. So yeah, it is interesting that we got to some of the same advice. The only other thing I wanted to add, though, which is why I did this weird amble, it's also not your job to deconvert your mom, right? And it doesn't sound like you were on that path, but just as I said, it's a family member who's least likely to change your mind. You're least likely to change your family members' minds. You're the person in the worst position to do that. So, debate club among family members, I've rarely seen it end well. So resist it. No matter how many Instagram posts she sends you or whatever, resist the debunking, I guess, of that, I would say. And it doesn't sound like that's where you're headed, but in general, that's just something I've seen go badly so often. I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, I do have a tendency to, respond to her like, this is not true, stop. But yeah, that's thank you for your thoughts, and I appreciate what you guys do and taking your time every out of your lives to do this, and really to your point, to Stephanie's point, and what Paul, thank you for what you do. You helped me through my deconstruction and finding the truth, because I did major mathematics, and we love to prove things in mathematics and finding the truth of theorems and others as such. And Austin, I think you're right spot on that. Sure, it's fine when we know to believe in or follow these things when we know it's not true. And lastly, I would add that, I rewatched a movie just a few days ago called Legion, about the Archangel Michael and what's his Gabriel fighting each other. And now that I'm an atheist, I enjoyed it even more. So,
well, now try Dogma by Kevin Smith.
So I gotta check it out.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much. All right. Well, we have room for theist callers. We'll keep the lines open a little bit longer to see if we get any theists calling in. So you and I are not exactly aligned on where we think where we fit on this whole harm thing, but I think we netted out in a reasonable place. Or do you and I still disagree on?
I'm not sure. What did you hear that we had disagreements on, or that we misaligned on?
I guess for me, participating in a religion, or adopting a religion as true is definitely harmful because of the epistemology. But sticking with a religion that isn't true, while better, is still not free of harm. There's, by associating yourself with a religion in the reality of North America in which you and I live, in particular, associating yourself with a religion, knowing it's false, is still lending it power and
some kind of
legitimacy. Yeah, that is, because you can find community elsewhere, because in North America you can openly be a non-believer. And don't get me wrong, I understand that. I mean, I lost my job. There's definitely, atheists are not beloved, but our lives aren't in danger, right? And you can find communities, even in Texas. You can find communities that there are better ways. There are less harmful ways to find the community in secular groups and that kind of thing. Maybe you and I are on the same page about that. You're just more okay with people having a transition period where they stick it out.
No, I think we're on the same page with that. I think that's where I was landing with that call with Stephanie, is like when we got to the place of like, well, what if they just want to, talk about the character of Jesus, knowing that the Bible's not true? And my response was like, but why? Like, why? Like, sure, but why? Why that character out of all the characters that are so? Why not make a church about like, the best qualities of Martin Luther King, and you make an entire community around trying to emulate that, knowing that there were different qualities and different, because he's a man who has all the flaws and imperfections of any person. But trying, it's like, why zero in on Jesus Christ and continue to add legitimacy to this idea that there is something uniquely special and uniquely powerful about that person? And ultimately, even if you don't accept the truth claims, I think I agree with you that like you are still doing harm by lending legitimacy to the idea of Christianity as an international institution. I think my position was more like I have a hard time saying definitively that it's impossible for a person to have some kind of personal belief and some kind of extraordinary supernatural truth claim that and hold that belief without harming anybody else. Like I can't speak for 8 billion people and say there's no person alive who is capable of holding a belief in an extraordinary, unprovable supernatural truth claim without doing harm. Like for all I know, like there are people out there like that. So I just wanted to leave space for that and not make a definitive claim that it's like, no, it's impossible. There's no way. Fair enough. But also it's still my position that I'm like, I think in most cases it winds up being harmful if you dig deep enough. Yeah.
I would say it's very much, I'm in danger of the black swan fallacy, but until I see the black swan.
Sure.
In this case, I'm gonna go with, scientific laws are based on the fact that we've not observed anything different. So I'm still going with if you have bad epistemology in one area, that invariably I've seen it bleed over to other areas. So not that I am the arbiter of epistemology, but
that's my feeling too, is that what I've observed is that even in the best of people who I've met, if I prod deep enough, I can find like the place where it's like, that's where the problem lies,
Yeah.
But a lot of those people, like the people that we were talking about, the Dan McClellans, they're good enough people and smart enough people that I kind of go like, there's just certainly bigger fish to fry and more worthy battles to undertake.
And all the people that we listed, Dan, Dale Allison, all these other people, that Bill Fisher, all these people, I feel like I could call them up. Not that I know I'll have all their numbers, but I feel like I could reach out and say, we both agree that harm is bad, so let's talk about whether action X causes harm, and we could just leave God out of it entirely. We could just have a conversation about whether action X is harmful. Not all theists that I know would I be able to do that with, right? They would just say, I pointed to the page and it says on this page, so we're not talking about it. Like, well, okay.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Well,
we do have another atheist anxious to all of them, but we would love, again, theists, get in line, because you would go straight to the front for the call, and we're going to go for a little bit longer. Theists, give us a call, 720-619-2288, or on the web link in the description. But before that, let's get to, I think it's Jerry versus Gary. Jerry?
I'd say Jerry.
It's Jerry. Hi, Jerry. Welcome. You're on the line with Paul and Austin.
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Paul. Sorry, I'm Jerry. Yes.
Amazing. That's the best thing that's happened all night long.
Right. Fantastic. So, let me give you a little bit of a brief preamble. So, I'm a very skeptical guy. My whole family have been skeptics, pretty much since I was very young. But grew up in Ireland, so we sort of pretended a bit of religion until I was out of primary school. But basically, the reason why I am currently an atheist is I just don't believe in any connection between the material realm and any kind of spiritual realm. I'm pretty much as skeptical as not quite Diogenes. I mean, fellas aren't pulling me out of the way of chariots because I don't believe in them, but a little bit short of that, but that's where I am.
So, Jerry, do you think that there is a spiritual realm that the two are just disconnected? Or are you on the same page as me that, as far as I know, the material realm is the only realm?
Indeed. Well, I mean, there are many things I'm sure that must exist that are beyond our ken in whatever kind of universe we're imagining or system we're imagining. But the given that we can know nothing about them, the only sensible position is to disbelieve in them and to not worry about them until they impinge on our level of
Jerry, I'm super
consciousness.
sorry. In the last 30 seconds, your call has started to break up quite a bit and get a little staticky. I don't know if you're wandering around or driving or whatever, if you're on, but where you were at the start of the call was a lot more clear than this last 30 seconds.
I haven't moved. Has that helped?
It's a little better now. That might just be happenstance, but thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll get to my point.
Okay.
So I was hoping that like I'm interested in the Bible because I'm a classicist. I studied classics in college. But I was hoping that you would talk about some of the aspects of the Bible that are clearly literature and not history. So, for example, the end point I was hoping to get to was how the Passover narrative is paralleled in the Passion story, and how because those two work together, we can be sure it's literature and not history.
Well, I think that I think theists would say that the mirroring of the stories is more proof of the they would claim that is a consistency of God's nature and of the way that the plan unfolds. But you're correct that an anthropological study of history would say that stories like that, first of all, they don't happen. We don't have these kind of supernatural stories where like prophecies were made and then came true and then they repeat several hundred years later or whatever, but it's, the flood story is another one that's repeated a lot. And the Passion story has, not only is it mirrored in the Passover story, but there are also just so many different, stories throughout human history that have messianic figures born to a virgin and things like that. And like, I agree that you're correct that, what that points to is these being just passed down myths and folklore, but I would say that theists would argue that it points to some kind of inherently true, like the repetition of the story structure points to the consistent nature of the architect and the designer.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, but I think what I'm hitting at here is the critique of religion that says that you can't believe in your religion for the same reason that my mate Amit in Hyderabad believes in his religion, and my friend Aristophanes from 2,000 years ago believes in his religion. If your justifications are the same and your beliefs are different, then we have a problem. So
Absolutely.
Similarly, if we have a story and you say, okay, well, story is paralleled in Osiris or Asclepius or one of these other mystery cults that I studied when I was in college. Well, you then need to say to the theist, okay, well, if God is mirroring this, well, how do you know that your one is the real one and the others aren't and the others are the mirror? Or how do you know? I say a plague on all your houses.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, I grabbed to my shelf to grab this giant fat telephone book from Dr. Dennis MacDonald, which is literally just a cataloging side by side of like various New Testament passages with Greek mythology, right? Like it's just this, what, I don't know how many pages this is. It's nearly 1,000. Oh, I guess it's like 700 some pages. So, I mean, you're not wrong, right? Like these are these are well documented, both to Greek literature, to Hebrew literature. It's very clear that the author of Matthew, in particular, is creating events so that they will fulfill Scripture. The famous, he decides to give Jesus 2 donkeys to come in on Passover because
Palm Sunday.
he misinterpreted the Hebrew passage to think that there was 2 donkeys in that, so he gave him 2. Luke understood it properly, so Luke only had 1. Like, it's just obvious that they're inventing things. They're also bringing in
So can I ask
translation
you,
tales.
a couple of,
Yeah, please do.
So can I ask you a couple of direct questions then? I'm afraid I'm more familiar with Paul. Is it Austin? I'm more familiar with Paul from his video series, really getting up the nose of Gary Habermas, which I enjoy.
But you
I
also
think
subscribe to Austin on TikTok. But anyway, thank you, Gary.
That's
Jerry,
a drum that never gets old. Playing that one. So
fair enough.
I'd rather
my
you
direct
subscribe to me on YouTube, but
yes, go ahead, Jerry.
I subscribe to you both.
Thank you.
So my question. I understand. I'm not familiar with ancient Greek or ancient Hebrew. My understanding is that the Barabbas character in the Passion play, his name is a parallel of Jesus' name. Is that correct?
You know what? That is just a particular hole in my knowledge, but yes, it is something along the lines of son of the father or something along the lines. I'm not going to pretend to.
Okay.
That's outside my lane, and that one I don't know, but I know lots of people have pointed to that and said this is more likely a fictional character because of the name. Very similar to where I would argue that Joseph of Arimathea is absolutely, an invented character because his name, I've studied Joseph of Arimathea more. His name, his town name doesn't exist and seems to have theological purpose as opposed to he's the best disciple,
right.
Really. So anyway,
so
now carry on.
Okay, second question. Right. So Jesus, the whole way through, seems to have been this character, whether he existed or not. I think not. But anyway, he's always called the Nazarene or from Nazareth. It's my contention that he is made to. We are told of his birth in Bethlehem, merely to fulfill prophecy.
Agree. So, from
my classics, I know that Roman censuses and Caesar Augustus and that whole shebang is a big problem. Just doesn't work. If you think about a census, what everybody's going to the house of the tribe that they're from. What? So let's say you have 1 million people and you have 10 tribes, and everybody goes to the birthplace of their tribe. What, like, who's doing the well digging? In the villages between the giant towns. Who's like it doesn't seem to work.
No, and not only that, it's like, well, okay, if your mother's lineage, even if you just stick to whatever your father's lineage was, you're which town? How far back do you go? Is it my grandfather's hometown? Is it my great grandfather's hometown? It's very arbitrary. Obviously, lots of problems with that so-called census. Did you specifically have questions? Or did you just want to observe?
Yeah, so I get specifically. So I get specifically the place I'm going to, and this may not be a surprise given my skepticism even of any connection between this world and the supernatural. I am currently moving, I think, towards the slightly weird, but there you are. That's the way brains work. But I'm moving towards the Richard Carrier mysticism position, simply because of my background in classics. I have a degree in classics and I have a degree in literature, and that has been my progression. Actually, I started in philosophy, then I went to classics, and then I ended up in literature. strangely, my mental journey has gone pretty much exactly the same way, from philosophy to a belief in a historical character, maybe not
So
God,
you,
and then to an entirely literary creation. I'm asking you, you guys.
yeah. So you mentioned,
Like, do
you already
believe
mentioned
that there was a historical Jesus?
I do, and you mentioned why. You mentioned my main reason for thinking Jesus is historical. So I'm going to ask you about this now. So
Yeah.
you agreed that the birth narratives in Matthew and Luke were created so that they could place someone who was known to be from Nazareth in Bethlehem.
Mm.
Now,
Yeah.
if Jesus was a fictional literary character, he would not have been known. Why would he have been known to be from Nazareth?
Well,
Why would those?
Odysseus is
Why
known
would
to be
those
from
stories?
Ithaca.
I'm sorry.
I said
I just-
Odysseus is known to be from Ithaca, but it doesn't mean that he's from it. It doesn't mean that he existed.
Right, but Odysseus being from Ithaca is consistent with the narrative of Odysseus. Jesus
Sure.
of Nazareth, Jesus being from Nazareth, is highly inconsistent with his narrative purpose. So why, if you are inventing whole cloth,
Oh, I like that.
why
Yes, I
why
see
are
what
you
mean.
why are two separate authors inventing two separate stories to place Jesus as awkwardly as you can imagine in Bethlehem in ways that defy, as you said, it defies logic. But they both felt the need because their audiences knew Jesus to be from Nazareth outside of the context of the literature they were writing.
Well, that's an interesting point. I like the historical notion. That's very modern history in the way that you take the weird thing. Like, so for example, almost everybody thinks that the Sermon on the Mount is hooey, but anytime Jesus says something weird, that's more likely to be true because it's less canonical. I like that. That's a very clever argument.
Right. So, well, it's not clever. It's
I
what
would
convinced
say-
me, because I completely went the mythicist route for a few months, and I was convinced that he was.
So
But
I would
that
say-
Nazareth thing. Go ahead, please.
So I would say, well, basically what we have here is we have a story of, say, a Hercules or a Theseus, and they have a place that they're supposed to be from. And then we have two writers who are the primary sources. Okay, 4 Gospels. But we have two birth stories, and we have different times in the temple, and we have going to Egypt, and we have a story about birth in Bethlehem, and nobody knows what characters were there. Did the angels appear to shepherds, or did they appear to wise men? This all seems to me to be literary and to be a sort of, it's entirely possible that there was a real person. But I think that what we see here is that ultimately we see that there's nothing but quicksand. There's nothing to build your house on. So I think you make a good point against my position, but I think that's a good point against your position to say, okay, sure, I love the weird stuff being more likely to be true. But if there's lots and lots and lots of weird stuff, well, how could we say anything at all?
Right, but
I
how
don't
is
know
it
if
more?
I'm articulating the mythicist position very well, but maybe that's how we might try an argument.
Well, there's a few things, but I mean, Occam's razor here is not that there was that it's based on no person. The simplest explanation is that there was a person, but who would be unrecognizable, but that there was a person, much like Johnny Appleseed or Paul Bunyan, or like, I know you're not from North America, so these are probably not examples that are resonating with you.
No, I'm aware.
But it's the simplest explanation is that there was a person or set of people to explain the little fiddly bits that seem like they have a nugget of historicity to them. And I'm fine with saying that the Jesus of the Bible, if you took a video camera back, that you wouldn't be able to film a single scene from The Chosen, right? Like, fine, like maybe you didn't even have 12 disciples, like, but it just seems like you're adding a burden of proof to yourself when you say Jesus did not exist, and I don't even understand how that's helpful. And maybe it's just because I'm in this pragmatic world where I'm talking to Christians every day, and where it's much more pragmatic to grant what I can. So
I know.
So
it's for example, you might say, for example, I find the logical proof for God, hooey, very annoying, and foolish. But when I had my Leave the Catholic Church interview with a bishop's representative, I said, okay, look, let's just say, for example, that I grant you Aristotle's first mover or whatever. That's fine. But you can't tell me that he has a personality, that he cares who goes to bed with who and when and how. You can't do anything. He could be a demiurge. He could be an evil creator. He could be an ambivalent creator. He could be a baby creator. He could be any of the Humean objections. And the priest said, okay, well, let's enjoy our coffee and biscuit. So that was a victory for the atheist side. But I would say to you, Paul, I would challenge you. Well, for example, nobody believes that Abraham existed. Is that correct?
Well, some people do. I don't, but okay.
How about Moses?
Again, I don't, but lots of people do.
Right. Oh, well, I'm working on you. Like,
you're working on me. Okay, but here's the reason. But there's no similar, like, so the example, the thing I gave you with Jesus, where there's niggly bits that seem like they're more likely. With Moses, I don't have a similar parallel, and I've looked, right? Like, I don't have something to anchor a Occam's razor case on. Like, there's no nugget of historicity, like even like that he grew up in Egypt. Well, I guess some people might say that his name is more Egyptian than Hebrew.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like Tutmosis the Pharaoh.
Yeah, but so look, I'm not unsympathetic to the whole myths. Like, it could well be. I just don't understand this notion of adopting it as a burden of proof. So again, but you're right. You're catching me in a bit of hypocrisy that I'm much more willing to say Abraham was likely not even a real person. Moses not even likely not even a real person. I guess it's just because it's so much later in history that there's no nugget like that. Is that
exactly? Well, I'm coming.
Is that
from
too much hypocrisy for me
here?
Okay,
and I'm thinking, look, we know Josephus is hooey on Jesus, right?
Well,
Josephus is either subsequent to the Gospels and therefore not interesting.
But there's two passages. There's two passages, right? Though there's Josephus's Flavium Testimonium, which I believe is garbage. But he also mentions the death of Jesus's brother.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with that, but
well, go get familiar with that. That is,
he says something like, my understanding is that he says something like, Jesus, who was the Christ, and
but that's in the forged one. Yeah, I'm granting you. I'm even though I probably wouldn't in real life, but I'm granting you for the sake of this call that Flavimonium Testimonium, the passage you're talking about, is garbage, made up whole cloth by Christians. There's still a different section in a whole different book where he describes the death of Jesus's brother James, right? And so James.
No, I'm not aware. I'm not familiar with that. Sorry. Can you give us a précis or?
I mean, it's like two sentences. It is largely because he does go on to describe how James was the head of the church in Jerusalem, and in a political coup, someone wanted his job and killed him. And that's actually one of my main arguments when people say, well, he risked his life for this belief. It's like, no, he got killed in a political coup. Like it's not evidence of what he believed at all. Go check that out, because that is one of the problems. Now, I know mythicists whom I love, and they think that he's just saying Jesus's brother in that evangelical sense of oh, brother Paul says this, and brother Phil has a message from the Lord, like that it was more of a spiritual title. But Josephus definitely talks about Jesus having a brother, and so if Jesus had a brother, and also Paul met Jesus' brother. Now, do you think Paul was a historical person?
Yes, I think so.
Okay,
but I know there are people who don't.
Right, but he also met Jesus' brother, right?
That's what I was going to say about the brother. Is that now I'm not an ancient Greek grammarian, but I understand that there are that it is more logical to conclude that Paul is saying that he met Peter and a guy who he says is the brother of Jesus. That is a problem, because but I think your point is better even than that, which is if we have Josephus saying, oh, here's this guy, I want to talk about it, and in passing he mentions that he was brother of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, that's much more telling for at least for the existence of Jesus. Because,
so I would encourage you,
there's no
go look at that passage.
There's no propagandistic motivation there. He's not saying, and here's what he said. That he said to give me all the olive groves between here and Galilee.
Right. Exactly.
He's just saying, here's a story I want to tell. And by the way, one of the guys was the brother of Jesus. That's a very convincing argument for his actual existence, and better than the biblical one. I'll have to check that out. Well, listen,
check that out.
Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for the chat, and keep on.
I enjoyed it.
Keep on banging that Habermas drum. I love it. All the best. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right. We I believe the lines are closed, and we are ready to say farewell and adieu. Sorry, that last call got into a bit of the weeds there, Austin. I'm sorry about that.
Hey, I have no problem with it. Sometimes it's nice for me to just go, this one's not my wheelhouse, and you take her away,
If we had Book of Mormon calls, I definitely would have been doing the same. So, yeah.
Listen, even if it was the Book of Mormon, I'd be like, I don't care.
Fair enough.
I'm glad that there are biblical scholars, and I'm glad that there are people who but to me, I think fundamentally it's like the futility of pulling apart a book that has been rewritten that many times, and that people are still trying to debate over like the specific meanings of certain sentences and the syntax of the sentences. And I'm like, but we all know that it's a game of telephone with the book, and it's a record that is just so preposterously unreliable. What are we even doing lending it any credence whatsoever? Or even, to me, it's sort of a thing where it's like, I just don't, whenever someone wants to talk to me about the Bible, my response is like, I just don't care. I don't care about that one stupid book.
That is absolutely, actually, an earlier caller made me think of that. It's like, if you have a book club for only one book, you need a better book club. I don't care what the book is. There's no book club that should exist for just one book.
Yeah. So, I just am like, I'm so profoundly uninterested in the Book of Mormon too. When people want to go like, hey, it's really impressive that how the Book of Mormon was written. I'm like, yeah, sure. I guess it's a funny parlor trick that Joseph Smith was able to write that book via dictation by looking into a hat through some stones. Like that's kind of like a neat little trick he was able to do. But I still am like, I don't give a shit what's in it. I don't care.
All right, everyone. Well, this has been a great time. I hope you have a fun time with Forrest. Say hi. And we will see everyone back here tomorrow for Skeptalk, Chewed Gum. Throughout the week. Enjoy and this was fun. I hope we get to host again.
Yeah, that was a lot of
together soon.
I enjoyed it
and we can talk shop someday
for sure.